Hello, welcome to Domestic Violence NG, and I am going to be your host for today. I want to talk about causes of domestic violence, and this is applicable globally, but my focal point today is going to be Nigeria. So, before I delve into what the causes of domestic violence are, I want to ask you, do you think people intentionally perpetrate domestic violence? Do you think this is, I mean, people can just wake up one morning and decide that, you see, today I'm going to perpetrate domestic violence, or I'm going to harm my partner, I'm going to abuse my partner? Don't worry, if you don't have the answer, probably you're still thinking about what the answer is. Just sit down, tighten your seatbelts, and I will show you how or why people behave that way. It is important that I, I mean, ask you guys. I don't know how many of you guys that knows what domestic violence is all about, and a lot of people must have been hearing the topic domestic violence, and before we delve into what the causes are, let me also quickly run you through to what domestic violence is. So, domestic violence can be defined as a pattern of behavior in a relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over an intimate partner. And you need to understand that abuse is physical, sexual, emotional, psychological actions or threats of actions that influence another person. These actions include any behavior that frightens, intimidates, terrorize, manipulate, humiliate, injure, blame, or even wound someone. Domestic violence can happen to anyone of any race, age, sexual orientation, religion, or gender. It doesn't care what religion you are. It doesn't care whether you are male or female. It doesn't care whether you are married, single, or still living with your parents. It doesn't ask that question. I mean, it can occur within a range of relationships, including those who are married, living together, or dating. Domestic violence affects people of all socio-economic backgrounds and educational levels. Your qualifications does not in any way exempt you from being a victim. So all you need to do is just that you have to pray and make sure that you are very observant about the signs of domestic violence to help you, avoid this. So, to begin, what are really the causes of domestic violence? I mean, there's tons of causes of domestic violence, but I try to streamline it into three or four causes. So first of all is what I call personality traits. There are some individuals whose personality traits and also mental characteristics include sudden burst of anger, poor impulse control, poor self-esteem. Also, abuse experience as a child lead some people to be more violent in adulthood. Now let's digest personality traits a little bit. When you talk about personality traits, you are talking about what are these traits you see in a person that are likely going to lead these people to uh, perpetrate domestic violence. So, and we say that one of them is sudden burst of anger. There are people that lack the control of their temper. There are people that any little thing they will burst into very great or very high annoyance. They don't know how to control their temper. they really don't know. And some people as well have very, very poor self-esteem. And because they have very, very poor self-esteem, they tend to unleash whatever thing, their anger, their annoyance, their feelings on their partners, which is absolutely very, very wrong. Very, very wrong. Another major cause of domestic violence today is what we call social stress. And by social stress, I mean, we don't necessarily say that social stress is a major cause of domestic violence. Don't quote me wrong, but it contributes to domestic violence. Please note that stress is not always a major cause of domestic violence. Cases where a person is living in a family situation might cause domestic violence. Spouses or couples in poverty are more likely to experience domestic violence as a result of stress and financial conflicts. Another cause of domestic violence is what we call control and dominance. So, some researches that has been carried out has shown that abusers abuse just to dominate or maintain control over their partners, and this can be attributed to low self-esteem, feelings of inadequacy, stress of poverty, unresolved childhood conflicts, hostility and resentment towards women, personality disorders, genetic tendencies, and social cultural influences. So you also need to understand that there are situations or cases where, because the lady is earning more, and these men are having, they strictly want to have that dominance over their partners, over their spouses, or perhaps they are doing the same kind of work, but the women in the house is earning more and earning more. I mean, these factors also kind of like affect the men, and the men, some of these men that find themselves in this position actually have very low self-esteem, which is actually one of the reasons why they definitely want to exercise that dominance and control over their partner. Another major cause of domestic violence is what we call social learnings, and I mean, this is very prevalent. This is very, very prevalent, which is the reason why I always advise people, if your partner is anyway being abusive or threatening you, please do not allow your children to be in that environment. If you can take your child or your kids away from such environment, please do take them away. Do not allow them to be in that abusive environment. So, talking about social learnings, if one observes violent behavior, one is more likely to imitate it. I'm sure you guys know very well about that. Children who are raised under violent or abusive homes most of them end up growing up to be adults who are abusive, because they feels like that's the right way to treat women, that's the right way to live, because perhaps that's what their violent parents have imbibed in them to grow up with. So if there are no negative consequences and the victims also accept the violence with submission, then behavior will likely continue. Often, violence is transmitted from generation to generation in a cyclical manner, and I hope you guys are very, very aware of this. So this also leads me to the point that if any of you is going through any form of domestic violence, I know, I'm going to speak to that forms of domestic violence later to educate you guys and enlighten you guys about what it is. But if any of you is going through any form of, or observing or seeing signs of any form of domestic violence, listen. Do not keep quiet. Do not keep calm. Speak to people. Report to agencies. Report to the authorities. Don't keep quiet, because if you keep quiet, and anything happens to you, who lose? You, of course. And do not let your children to live under the same roof where violence or abuse is being perpetrated. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's high time that people will begin to have the wrong mindsets about, how all these things are happening. You keep on saying, what will I do? How will I do? There's always solution out there. Speak to people, reach out to organizations, reach out to domestic violence. Who will guide you? Who will help you? So guys, let me know in the comment section if there is anything new you learn about what I just said today, and let me know what your thoughts are about these causes of domestic violence. Thank you.